You know, it's like, why should I be able to predict that? Think about that. Why should I be able to predict that I was going to have a problem today because of the transformation that's happening within me? It's because, welcome to the Course in Miracles, Facebook Live, Earl trying to be not upset Purdy. And we're going to continue with the new beginning, starting all over. And so what we're going to do right now is we are to say then, if there's a situation in your life right now that you're feeling upset about or unhappy about, tell yourself that at least you can decide that you don't like what you feel right now. Tell yourself, at least I can decide I don't like what I feel right now. Since I've got to make some kind of decision about what's going on, I'm going to make the decision I don't like what I'm feeling right now. And then the Course in Miracles tells us that you can begin to change your mind by telling yourself, and so I hope I have been wrong. But once you decide you don't like what you feel, it says what could be easier than to continue with, and so I hope I have been wrong. Then it says that if you would do that, you'll start to realize that help is not being thrust on you. Help is something that you want. If you say you hope you've been wrong, and that'll be enough to let you go ahead to let yourself be helped. Mm-hmm. And then it tells us you've reached the turning point because you recognize it would be to your benefit if you were wrong as you could be. You're unhappy, you feel lack, you feel separate, you feel lonely, whatever you think the thing is, then you'd be better off if you were wrong about every kind of way you're looking at it and everything you think is happening. He says that's the turning point. The turning point is when a person recognizes it would be better if what the way they were looking at it is not the correct way to look at it. Sometimes you'll think and you'll hear, well, the truth is there are no wrong decisions, there are no wrong directions. Well, you're not going to live long enough to try every direction, so it'd be good if you did have a sense of what was the right way and what wasn't for you. I say it again. You won't live long enough to try every direction. So if I was trying to come to church and I was headed in the opposite direction, it would be helpful if someone said, Earl, you headed in the wrong direction, head over to the church by going north. Rather than to tell me, well, you know, there are no wrong decisions. So you just keep on heading north to get to Unity Temple when really I would have to go south. So it's good. It's a good thing to tell yourself that you may be headed in the wrong direction, looking at it the wrong way. That's not a negative thing, right? So the Course then says that now you reach the turning point because until you reach the turning point, it says you will believe your happiness depends on being right, but you have experienced this much reason that you'd be better off if you were wrong. And then the Course in Miracles calls that a tiny grain of wisdom. So you now finally worked up to a whole big tiny grain of wisdom if you get to the point that you tell yourself that you would be better off if you were wrong. Do you have the thing that you're telling yourself that you'd be better off if you were wrong about right now?
Yes.
Do you have it? Okay. So now you are experiencing a tiny grain of wisdom. I'm proud of you. We're up to a tiny grain. All right? Yeah. Now the Course says, then, since you've reached that point that you recognize that you hope to get the thing you want, then you say with perfect honesty, I want another way to look at this. I want another way to look at them. Then it says that's when you change your mind. That's when you change your mind about the day, and that's when you remembered what you really want. What do you really want? I really want another way to look at this. Then it says, the purpose of the day has no longer been obscured by your insane belief that you want the day for being right when you're wrong. But you take the Course in Miracles says most people are so addicted to being right that they actually get up in the morning with the attitude, I want to be right about everything I'm saying and telling myself all day long, even if I'm wrong. Even if I'm wrong. Even if I'm wrong, I want to be right. Sometimes people make a mistake, and rather than just admit they made a mistake, they'll keep hanging in there with that mistake because they don't want to admit that they're wrong. And so they still continue to give themselves the pain, like, voting for the wrong person. Okay, now, just giving a neutral example, that's all. Just a neutral example. I'm not calling no names. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. I love to see what's going on in my mind Because it's just one mind. So I'm just looking at everything that's going on there now. Did you know that? There's just one mind. It just looks like there's a lot of minds, but there's just one mind. So everything you're looking at is in your mind. Deep. Everything you're looking at is in your mind. And it's you that's determining the meaning you're going to give to it. So everything you're looking at is in your mind. So the Course in Miracles then says, the once you say that you hope that you're wrong, then you have a readiness for asking. Right? And you can't be in conflict when you're asking for what you want and you know that's what you're asking for. So most people are asking for things they don't know they're asking for. If everything that comes to you is a request, is being created by your own consciousness, your own mind, your own perception, then however you're looking at anything, you're the one that's asking for it because you're the one that's looking at it that way. So there's nothing that you're experiencing that you aren't asking for because there are alternative ways to look at whatever it is, the Course is saying, but you're choosing the way to look at it that you are seeing. And there's just two ways to look at things, the Course in Miracles says. Basically, you're looking at it in a way that gives you peace, or you're looking at something in a way that gives you conflict. I know this sounds simple, but that's why it's doable. It's doable because it's simple. The problem is, if a person hates themselves, they'll never do a doggone thing that you tell them that's going to make anything easier for them. They're either going to go to sleep, or they're just not going to do what you're talking about. Because you would be hanging on the edge of your seat if you thought what I was saying was going to give you what you wanted. You would be hanging on to the edge of your seat if you were in a situation and you had a desire for something and you were in front of someone that was telling you how you could have it, you would not go unconscious. You would be hanging, like if I was telling you there's $1 million in the backyard, cash, I'm going to tell you all where it's located, nobody would be asleep. No. To the point that you'd be telling somebody, smack me if I even look like I'm going to sleep until he tells me. So just think, if I really believed the Course in Miracles could deliver on what it was promising, I would be riveted in terms of hearing what it's saying. I used to be riveted because I thought it was going to get it the way I wanted to have it. It was going to tell me what I wanted to hear. And what the Course in Miracles says that the average person wants to hear whenever you are giving them an answer to anything is all the things outside themselves and all the other people, what all the other people outside of themselves was going to have to do, or how you could get somebody outside of themselves to bring it to them. Then they're totally into what you're saying. But answers that have to do with me changing my mind does not excite me, because I'm used to using my mind to come up with all the ways you need to change. I'm not even used to using my mind to examine my thoughts. I'm used to using my mind to come up with what you need to do to make me happy. Fortunately, I don't attract people like that to me anymore because I make them mad. Right? So I don't attract people like that like I used to. People who depend on other people for their happiness and who don't take responsibility for theirs stay very angry at people who don't act out their scripts, which I'm not going to do. I'm just going to be me. So you wonder about, will you be surrounded by people who give you a hard time when you start being authentic and practicing the truth for yourself? No. All the people who don't want to be responsible for their own happiness and love to blame everybody else will not be attracted to you. The question is, can you be patient enough to let the new people come in who are just like you when you're in that in-between period when it look like you don't have as many people around you that support people as you used to when you were crazy? That's the scary part. When all of a sudden you're changing and there are not a lot of people at first that's reflecting the change that you're going through. You'll be tempted to want to go back to the way you were just so you wouldn't feel alone. Yeah. Right? So the Course then says, the final step is but an acknowledgement of lack of opposition to be helped. I like to work out of the book because if I work out of the book, I'm working out of something that's available to you all the time, whether I am or not. That's right. So a good teacher is about motivating you to do your own work, not to be dependent on them. So I can sit up here and just talk, but then you think you needed me. But when I'm going from the book, you know, oh, I could actually get into this book and I could look at it differently myself and he could help me in that process, which I could after 37 years. I could save you a lot of self-sabotage. Because I know what your ego is going to try to do to jam you up when you say you really want to be happy. You're not the first one to go toward enlightenment. And everything that you're going to do on the way to enlightenment, other beings on the way to enlightenment are also done, and the steps are already laid out as to what you're going to go through when you say, I want to move from fear to love. Everything that you're going to do to yourself to try to stop you is in this book and other wisdom texts. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to make this up as you go along. You don't have to try to figure this out. It's already figured out for you. I never baked a cake. God, I'm glad I can go to a recipe book by asking somebody who knows how to do it. I don't have to reinvent the recipe. You don't either. There are certain things that the truth teaches that a person is going to have to do in order to be happy. That there are certain attitudes that they're going to have to take in order to be happy. And it also tells you the things you're going to do to try to block yourself from having that happiness, so that you can recognize it before you give into it. And one of the best ways to tell if you're interpreting the truth correctly, according to the Course, is how you feel. Not what you're thinking, is how you feel. Feelings are the one right use of judgment, because your feelings will get you in touch with what you believe. So if you are not feeling peace, joy, happiness, then there's something about the way that you're going about your experience that is absolutely incorrect. Deep. Deep. But see, when a person hears that and they're miserable most of the time, they get depressed. Because that's them having to admit all day long they're wrong about the way they're looking at most things. And don't forget now, the ego wants to be right. I want to be. My daddy ruined me by having a problem with alcohol my whole life. That explains why nothing has gone right for me my entire life, because my father had a problem with alcohol. See, that can justify me not doing most anything, because I can always use that as an excuse.
Yeah.
And that's a lot easier than me working on myself, is to blame the past. So if you're getting the payoff of being able to blame your past for why you haven't ever had a good relationship because the last 3 were so messed up, so now you can never be loved, that's because you're afraid of intimacy and you're not trusting. So that justifies you not allowing yourself to have a relationship, because now I'm going to treat you like you were the person I went with last. You're going to do to me what my last girlfriend did. You know, but you're not the same person. I need to remember that to have you new. And first of all, hopefully you're interested. Because if I don't love myself, I want the one person that has no interest in me.
Yeah.
That's the first thing I'm going to do, is fall in love with the person that has no interest in me if I don't love myself. And if I'm afraid of intimacy, the first thing I'm going to do is make sure I don't attract anybody that's interested in me. Because I would have to be vulnerable. I would have to open up. I would have to be more trusting. That's my fear. It's me being open. So if I never meet anybody that's trustworthy, I never have to trust. Then I can say I'm a real trusting person, just nobody shows up that's trustworthy. Oh, the games we play with ourselves are ridiculous. But once you see the game, you're no longer in the game. That's how you know. You want to know when you're transcending your old self. It's when you can look at it and go, oh, that's my ego. Oh, those are my thoughts. Oh, that's the game I used to play. Oh, that's the pattern I used to have. Now you kind of transcended enough to look at it. You know, you have to be the fish that jumps up out of the ocean before you even see the water. So people who are deep in their misperceptions, they don't even know it. That's why you must be compassionate. Like Jesus said, forgive them, Father, for they know not what they do. That's the truth. People who are asleep, mesmerized by the world, believe that they're separate, believe that they're victims, believe that we are different because we have different genders and colors and ethnic groups and background. Those people are asleep, and they are representative of the parts of our own consciousness that are asleep. So when somebody's asleep, you don't hit them over the head with a hammer. You try to support them in having safe sleep. But in the meantime, you hang out with the folk that's awake. If you wake somebody up who's having a nightmare, they might attack you as part of the nightmare that they're having.
That's right.
So you can't wake anybody up before they're ready. You can't get anybody to enlightenment before they're ready. You had an internal alarm that went off. Something within you went off that made you want to seek a more loving path, a more loving life, a more conscious existence, right? 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 Why don't you trust that everybody else is going to also have the same thing happen to them? And then you decide to be a living demonstration of how cool things are, how loving a person is, how conscious a person is when they wake up. Let them see your joy, your happiness, your abundance, your sanity. That would be a much more appealing thing than trying to convince your friends and relatives of your thought system and the wrongness of theirs. But sometimes the people who be talking about spirit and love and enjoying, they don't express any kind of joy or happiness or openness or affection. And then why would somebody want to be like me? I'm not exemplifying any of the joy. I'm the saddest person in the room saying I'm into the course. Or I'm into some truth teaching. You got to demonstrate it. And you demonstrate it by being authentic.
Yeah.
So you don't demonstrate it by pretending you're happy when you're not. Right? So the Course in Miracles says perhaps there's another way to look at this. What can I lose by asking for another way to look at it? Okay, so whatever that situation or circumstance is right now that you've been thinking about, say to yourself, perhaps there's another way to look at this. What can I lose by asking? Asking for what? Another way to look at it. What can you lose by asking for another way to look at it? And so he says, thus you now can ask a question that makes sense. And so the answer will make sense. If you ask a question that makes sense, the answer will make sense. And you won't fight against the answer if it makes sense. Why won't you fight against the answer? Because you got sense enough now to see that you will be the one to be helped by the answer. Why would I fight against an answer that I recognize is going to help me? Okay. Now, before I go look to the next part of this, because I'm going to finish this up today no matter what. All right? Anybody here a takeaway out of that they don't mind saying, wow, that triggered this thought for me, what you were saying? Anybody got something that triggered something for them?
The interesting thing that triggered as I was listening for you reviewing this is the final step of acknowledgement. The final step, that really getting to this point is the end of the path that we have to do. All I have to do is get to the point of saying, there has to be another way to look at it. That's as far as I have to go. That's
right. And recognize that I'm going to be the one that's going to be helped by getting the new way.
Right.
Yes. The truth is simple. Hurting myself is complicated and difficult.
Well, so often we take that question and then we take 10 other steps after it trying to find our answer, rather than stopping there and saying, that's where I'm supposed to stop.
And going, there's another way to look at this. And what can I lose by asking? Now, let me give you a quick tip. When you ask for another way to look at it, for instance, The Course in Miracles is a book that's full of another way to look at it. Mm-hmm. So you don't even have to figure out what the other way to look at it is. Actually, that's given too. And guess what? It's given in every wisdom text, not necessarily The Course in Miracles. Mm-hmm. So I'm not one of these teachers that's saying The Course in Miracles is the only way and doing it the way that I do it is the only way. You know why? Because I have sense enough to know that's too slow. It's much faster if all of you reach the truth in the way that you were open to, even if it was a path different from mine, but we all headed to the same location. It's quicker if I let you do it the way that moves you, and I'm doing it the way that moves me, but we all headed to the same place, we'll get there faster. But if I'm going to spend all day long trying to get each one of you to believe my path, you see how crazy that would be? That's why I feel not see anybody trying to convert anybody over to a particular religion or a particular belief. So it's so stupid. There's no way you're going to pull that off because it's too slow. But suppose we are one mind. Suppose you really are me and I really am you, and there is only one mind. Then it's just like a pot on the kettle, on a pot on the stove, right? With boiling water, and I don't care where you pour anything in the pot, the whole pot's being affected, the whole water rises. So every time any one of us is receiving the truth, it's lifting all of us. You're a bunch of spouts. Amen. You know what I'm saying? And so you're a funnel. And so every time anything comes into you, it's coming into all of us. Now that sounds fast. If I would allow myself to accept the truth and we are joined, then all of us are accepting the truth. The love that I receive is being shared among all of us. That's right. That's quicker. I found you move so much faster on the spiritual path if you don't care what other people's opinions are. If you need everybody's approval for every step you make, or if I'm sitting up here talking to you and my belief in what I'm saying you will be affected by whether or not you believe what I'm saying, that's slow. Because your belief has nothing to do with the truth of what I'm saying.
That's right.
Did you hear what I said? Your agreeing with me has nothing to do with the truth of what I'm saying. It's not like what I'm saying isn't true unless you agree with me. Then you can be and I can be. Then there's no harm, no foul. But if I need you to agree with me, then I'm spending time debating with you and going back and forth about whose perception is right. But where I could be accepting the truth, living the truth, joining with other people like me who want to live the truth, racing toward my destination of love. Why would you want to oppose somebody who's saying you deserve to be loved anyway? What kind of sense does that make? I'm the villain because I say you deserve to be loved, and that you are lovable, and that you are beautiful, and that you are innocent. He's a cult leader. Anybody that say I'm cool must be a cult leader. But you tell people they're sinful and they're going to hell, and you have a mega church and they tie. It's amazing. It's amazing. Yeah.
So I like what we were talking about content and form, because it just reminded me that, like, if I like abundance, if I feel the abundance, then I attract that. Instead of like where the way the world works is like, oh, if you get money, then you feel abundant. But if you feel abundant, then you attract that.
That's right.
And the same for relationships.
That's
if
right.
I love myself so much that like I don't need like someone's love. If I love myself so much, then I attract that, because people see that like beauty, you know, and they're not pulled away by that energy of neediness.
But yeah, people tend to avoid needy people like the plague. But what's really cool is that the universe takes care of your needs. So needs aren't a bad thing.
Yeah.
You just make the mistake of deciding who's supposed to meet it. That's where we screw up. It's okay to ask for it. It's okay to have a need.
Yeah.
You know, as long as it's fulfilled. Right? Yeah. And so the way the universe is it fulfills your needs until you recognize you don't have any. Which I think is cool. You know, if I'm codependent and I need you to tell me I'm beautiful until I recognize I'm beautiful, okay, how do I work both ends against the middle? Well, I make sure I hang out with people that tell me I'm beautiful. I don't make sure since I know I'm codependent, I'm certainly not going to hang with the people who are judging me and condemning me, because I'm already meant to myself that I do let other people's opinions affect me. So common sense would say, okay, until I get past that block, common sense would say I wouldn't hang out with people who are always condemning me. So that way I'm working both ends against the middle. So the people in my life, I'm going to remind them of how beautiful and how valuable they are, because they're in the process of needing to remember that. And since we do tend to have a tendency to place a lot of value on what other people think, then that's beautiful that I'm saying that to them. It helps them to accept it for themselves even faster. Yeah. So why in the world would anybody get in a special love relationship with someone who's judging them, condemning them, criticizing them, not being affectionate to them, not being acknowledging to them, not showing any joy around them? But that's the way I see most relationships. You go to a restaurant and you see two people that look like what I call the dining dead.
Cuisine with the corpse.
You see so little PDA, it's ridiculous. You ought to see PDA everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere. You ought to go in the mall and see people just hugging and holding hands and smiling and doing kisses, you know.
Yes.
No.
We need to see demonstrations of caring, sharing, love, appreciation. We don't have any problem expressing our anger. We let people see our dissatisfaction just like that. But feel totally self-conscious to just hold a person or hold a hand or touch them in a loving way, who you say is somebody you're loving. We are cause for love. The Course in Miracles says, y'all jokers are big cause for God. That's what you are. You're just sweet little crazy people, but y'all so loving, y'all deserve love. Y'all deserve love. You've forgotten how much you deserve love. You do deserve love. But then when someone says you do, then you become suspicious of them. What is his game? What is Earl trying to get? Sanity. I'm doing this for my sanity. Yeah. So, the Course in Miracles says, well, it must be clear that it's easier to have a happy day if you prevent unhappiness from entering at all in the first place.
That's
what?
Right.
It's easier to have a happy day if you don't ever get unhappy in the first place. But what is that going to take? Well, it's going to take practice. Practice in what? The rules that will protect you from the ravages of fear. When you have taking practice in the rules that will protect you from the ravages of fear, this sorry dream of judgment has forever been undone. But in the meantime, you have need for practicing the rules for undoing the judgment and fear. So let's consider once again the very first of the decisions that were offered here. So the Course in Miracles is going to come right back around and say, okay, let me give you a quick review from a Course perspective. It says, we said you can begin a happy day with the determination not to make decisions by yourself. The determination not to make decisions by yourself seems to be a real decision in itself. Yet, you cannot make decisions by yourself. What? You cannot make decisions by yourself. What do you mean? That's really the only question is with what you choose to make your decisions with. You can't make decisions by yourself, so the only choice is, am I going to make decisions with this part of me? Or am I going to make a decision with that part of me? And so the Course says, that's really all that you're choosing, who you're going to make your decisions with, because you can't make a decision by yourself. Then when you hear the Course and you go, well, what do you mean? Keep reading. Then it says, the first rule then is not coercion, that you can't make decisions by yourself. The first rule that you can't make decisions by yourself is a simple statement of a simple fact. You will not make decisions by yourself. Whatever you decide, you won't make decisions by yourself. You've never made a decision by yourself. What? You make your decisions with idols or with God, which is the same as saying you make your decisions with fear or with love. You make decisions with you thinking that you're separate from everybody or join with everybody. You make all your decisions based on oneness, or you make all your decisions based on separateness. So you either ask help of the Antichrist, which is the fearful, guilty part of you, or the Christ, which is the loving, true part of you. And which one you choose to join with is going to tell you what to do. So you're either going to join with the part of you that's telling you attack, 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 hate, 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 blame, 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 project, 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 feel guilt, feel anger, feel fear. Or you're going to join with the part of you that says, I'm going to join with the love and the peace and the happiness and the connection and the oneness and the peace and the abundance of me. But you never make a decision by yourself. And you also do it from the inside and the outside. I know exactly who to call, who's going to condemn me for what I've done. And I know exactly who I can call who's going to tell me I'm innocent. You can tell how you want to feel about who you're talking about your problems with. Mm-hmm. You can tell what way you want to be by who you go to advice. If you go to an unconscious person and what I mean by, let me share what I mean by unconscious. A person who does not see themselves as having any responsibility for what they experience. Mm-hmm. I'm talking about somebody that projects and blames everybody else and see themselves as the victim of everything and everybody around them. When you go to a person like that, looking for help, you don't really want help. You just still want to blame too. Because you know who's going to say, you know what? You're not a victim in that situation. You're a powerful being in that situation. You got choices in that situation. You don't have to put up with that situation. You know exactly who to avoid when you're not ready to leave that joker. Or stay with that situation or circumstance. So I understand why the Course in Miracles is a challenge. You got to be so ready to get out of pain, or you got to be so in love with your peace to be in the Course in Miracles. But you cannot, in my perception, be a shade of gray person who's a little bit happy and a little bit unhappy. But they're not really, really, really ecstatic, but they're not really, really miserable. A person like that, this will have no appeal. I don't believe. And I've been doing it 37 years. So I've watched a lot of Course in Miracles students. And the ones I've seen jump on it the most are always the ones who reach their limit in some way. Not ever the ones who is entertainment. Oh, this is another truth class to go to. I think I'm going to check. Let's see what Earl doing today. What's Earl saying today? You know, you ain't going to get it. You ain't going to get it. You know. I'm so glad I get a chance to hear it every time I say it. Oh, I love the fact that I usually attend every class I'm at. Usually. I try to be in every class I teach. Sometimes I'm not here either, you know.
Amen.
So, do you know that your day isn't at random? What? You mean nothing that's happening to you today is at random? No. This day is set by what you choose to live this day with. This day is chosen by the friend whose counsel you sought perceives your happiness. That means you always ask advice before you decide on anything, which means you need to understand that you always ask for advice from your fear mind or your love mind before you do anything. And then you can see that there are no grounds for coercion. Nobody's forcing you to keep siding with your ego, with your fear, with your anger. Nobody's forcing you to keep looking at things the way that you're looking at. There's no coercion here. There's no grounds for opposition that you may be free. You are free. You are so free, you can choose how you're going to see. Mm-hmm. So the Court says there is no, I love this line, there is no freedom from what must occur. What? There is no freedom from what must happen. You're not free from gravity at this level of consciousness. You can't decide that you could jump off this building and you're going to fall up from the level of consciousness we're on now. One day, you will be able to defy gravity. But not now. Okay? So, you have no freedom from gravity right now. You follow what I'm saying? There is no freedom from what must occur. You're going to always go to your advisor to tell you how to deal with anything. And your advisor is going to be the mind of love or the mind of fear, the mind of God or the mind of the ego. You're going to your advisor. You're either going to go to what you learned in the past or what you're learning right now. You're either going to take what you're studying right now and use that to determine your decisions, or you're going to continue to use what you learned before this. You don't have any choice about that. So the Course in Miracles says, if you think there's a freedom from what must occur, then you must be wrong. Okay? Then it says, but a second rule as well is but a fact. You and your advisor must agree on what you want before it can happen. Mm-hmm. You and your advisor must agree on, I'm a black person and everybody's prejudiced against me. Okay, that is a voice that I'm siding with. Then I get the physical manifestation of that idea, and I meet all the racists and all the people who don't like black people, and I meet all the policemen that don't like black people, and I meet all of the white. Because I'm going to see the world reflect back to me the advice, the belief that I sided with my own advisor. So my world is going to reflect back to me what I have decided is true, because it says right here, it's that which permits everything to happen. I have to go into agreement. And so I've decided I'm not going to go into agreement with the negative things that I used to say about myself. I'm not going to go into agreement with what society says I should be experiencing as a result of the color of my body. Notice I said color of my body. I didn't say color of me. I'm not black. You're not white. You're not your friggin' bodies. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Come on now. You have a body. You communicate through a body. You're aware of stuff through your body, but you're not your body. Thank God for that. That should be good news. It should be cheers going up, actually. You should be so glad you're not your body. Actually, it's a snack. It's called not your body. She's not your body. You know? Of course, none of you ever want anybody to eat your body. I know that. I know none of you. This has never crossed any of your minds. You're so holy. Okay. Earl is going through his weeding out period of 2018. I want to be around some people I can just be myself with. I don't have to worry about how I say stuff. And you too. I want you to always feel to me that you don't have to talk to me in any kind of a censored way. That you can just express things the way you see it and the way you feel it. Those are the kind of people you want to be around.
Oh, Lordy.
Those people that you're thinking about everything you say before you say it to see how they're going to react to what you're saying. Those not the ones you want to be around all the time. You know what I'm talking about. You all got those. Yeah. You always watching what you say so that you don't offend them. Mm-hmm. That's what I love about being on the internet. It's billions of people. I don't care. It'd be a plenty to take up whoever's not interested in the way I do things. That's what I love about doing my hardcore course class on Thursday night and what I'm doing in here. I want to be around the people who appreciate me. Amen. You should too. Yeah. You should spend too much time trying to get somebody to like me. They've already decided how they're going to feel about you, and they're just using your actions to justify the decision they've already made about you. That's right. A person walking in the room, I don't like that Earl Purdy. Then anything Earl Purdy says, they're going to use that to not like Earl Purdy. That's right. And then the person goes, oh, I like Earl Purdy. Then no matter what he says, they're going to give him a pass. They're going to figure out a way to go, oh, that's just Earl. I'm telling you. When you want to heal with somebody, decide you all are going to heal before you talk about the thing that you are trying to work through.
Right.
Amen.
Don't talk about the thing you're trying to work through with the goal of deciding to have peace with each other at the end. You decide how that movie is going to turn out at the very beginning, and then everything that comes up between you all will get past.
That's right.
But if that person doesn't want to join with you on that idea, stop wasting your time. Go have fun with somebody else until they suffer enough that they want to see it differently. Don't interfere with their suffering. You're just slowing them down. Sometimes you have to let people crash and burn out of your love before they'll get sincere about doing it differently. And how do you know that person is the one you've offered the opportunity to see it different with and they don't want to? That's how you can know which person that is.
That's right.
Woo! Have you ever seen people that just want your help when they want it? You know, then all of a sudden you're the one that's supposed to rescue them. But when you try to tell them things when they're not ready for it, then they say you're meddling. Ain't that right, Demon? That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about. I tell you, it's so good to see Demon and Avalou in here. We go back to when I was 23. Avalou and I, we have to be friends till the day we die. We know too much about each other. It gets to the point you just don't have no choice but to be friends. Not let alone her mama. Lord have mercy. I'm telling you. I'm so glad I know what a friend is supposed to look like now. And I know what a true relationship looks like now. The Course in Miracles taught me the difference between love and what wasn't love, so that I could have a conscious choice about it without allowing myself to keep entering into things that hurt me, because I just didn't know I was entering in something that was hurt. It could hurt me. I could hurt myself through. Because think about, how many relationships you wouldn't do the way you did them now because of what you know now. You would do it differently now, right? So what happened back then? You just didn't know what you were getting into. Now you are to the point when you study the metaphysical spiritual truth, you can talk to a person 15 minutes and go, I know how deep to go in this relationship. I know immediately. I know immediately when I'm around somebody I get along with. I want love. I want oneness. I want peace. I don't want to attack. I don't need a lot of suspicion and judgment. So I know when I'm talking to somebody, that's the way they look at everything, by the way they treat me. If you judge me and don't like me and you haven't even had a conversation with me, and you've already decided I'm somebody you can't trust, you're the one that's not trustworthy. Not me. Or you wouldn't look for what not to trust as the very first thing you focus on about me. So you've already revealed that you're a fear-based person. I don't care how good your body looks, I'm still not going to want you. Didn't used to be that way. A butt would overcome God many times. Well, I'll just take you to a class. I find a way. And be sorely disappointed later on. You know what I'm saying? Because I don't care how great the passion is, it fizzles out if there's something greater going on in the union. Y'all all know that. You all know that.
Yeah.
The passion is a temporary distraction. It's what gets you into the lesson to begin with. The Course in Miracles says you're only attracted to somebody who reminds you of past grievances that you need to work out. But you wouldn't get in the relationship if you knew that was what's about to happen. You wouldn't get in the relationship if you knew all your stuff was getting ready to come up. So he has to look like, oh, you're everything you are too. You're so cute. You turn me on. I got to have you. That's the mousetrap. That's the cheese. How many of y'all got kept in the mousetrap machine? Yes. Some of y'all right now looking for some cheese. Some tender cheese. Okay. I'm going to do this last paragraph so we can run out of here at the speed of light. Okay, here we go. So the Course in Miracles says, it's your agreement that it permits all things to happen. Nothing can happen without some form of union, be it a dream of judgment or the voice for God or love. Decisions cause results. Why? Because you don't make a decision in isolation. If you make a decision with me, and I make a decision with you, or you make a decision with your higher self, it has much more power than the decision that you make by yourself. So I go to my friends and I say, this is something that I've asked for, that I don't want to make a decision by myself. Would you join me on the idea of me having peace in my life? or whatever it is. I don't make decisions in isolation because decisions in isolation have no power. So I can decide with God, or I can decide with my fear, or I can do an external symbol of that, which is asking someone that I know to join with me toward my decision. And then the Course in Miracles says that your decisions are made by you and your advisor, and so every decision you make is for yourself and for the world. What do you mean? Well, it means that the day you want is the day you offer to the world, because it's going to be what you've asked for, and the day that you have is going to reinforce the rule of your advisor in the world. What does that mean? It means that whatever voice I'm listening to, the day is going to reflect that, which will reinforce my belief in what that advisor told me. If the part of me that tells me don't trust people is what I go into agreement with, and then I meet somebody untrustworthy, it reinforces my belief in what my ego just told me. And so I keep going back to my wrong advisor. So your day is a witness to the advisor that you are listening to. So the Course in Miracles says, whose kingdom is the world going to be for you today? In other words, what kind of day will you decide to have? What kind of day will you decide to have? It just takes two. Just takes two who would have happiness this day to promise it to all the world. It takes but two to understand that they can't decide alone, to guarantee that the joy they ask for will be totally shared. Just takes two. The Course says because those two have understood a basic law. Those who know that it only takes two to have what you wanted, they understand that there's a basic law that makes decision powerful. There's a basic law that gives decision all effects that decision will ever have. And what is that law? It takes two, baby. It takes two, baby. Me and you. Some of y'all old enough to have heard this song. Some of y'all look at me like I'm totally crazy. What the hell are you talking about? Okay. You know, so these two are joined before there can be a decision. So if you're in a relationship, that should be a place that you ought to helping each other manifest your desires for love.
Yes, amen.
Because or go into your right mind, is the Course would say that that's also taking two to make a decision. So all of you that's leaving here today, you really can make a decision about everything I've said. There's nothing that I've said today that you couldn't do today. There's not one single thing I've said today. See, the ego likes instructions that involve the future. See, the ego is looking for, oh, it's going to take 6 months from now after I do, then I'm going to be happy. Oh, I got to find that person in the future. Then, see, the ego looks for future answers. It doesn't want to hear what you can do today, because then there's no excuse. If I can do it today from where I am right now, then I don't have any excuses. But if I say I've got to finish medical school in 10 years, and then I'll be happy, my ego loves that. Because that's just the 10 years you've sentenced yourself to not having happiness. I said it again. Right. When you ask for happiness in the future and you say it's going to take a certain length of time, that's the length of time you have sentenced yourself to not having happiness. Right. Because you could have it now. You're the one that's saying it's 6 months down the road when I finish this. You're the one saying it's after I meet that person over there. You're the one saying when I get that lottery ticket. See, every time you do that, that is you setting up a space between you and your experience of joy. That's why people love to do it. But this book is saying to you, no, there's not a doggone thing that Spirit told you today that you can't do. Oh, I don't like the way I feel now. I hope I'm wrong. I can see there's another way. Perhaps there is another way. Oh, it takes two. Oh, okay, let me join somebody who also wants what I want. Maybe I could do that today. But it might mean I have to go no to this person, no to that person, no to this old thought, no to the way I've done it in the past. And that's the part that people don't like. They don't know the freedom that comes from no. Because at first you've been ordering hot dogs over and over and over again from the kitchen to the kitchen. I have some restaurants that I go so that they are so used to me that they just bring this what they know I'm going to ask for to drink. As soon as I get the poof, there's a raspberry tea right there. Yeah. Now suppose I find out I'm allergic to raspberry tea. They're going to still come with the raspberry tea because I've been asking for the raspberry tea all the time, have I not? So then I have to go, no, thank you, I'm not doing raspberry tea. So the stuff you've been offering to yourself and ordering up for yourself for years and years and years, the kind of relationships, the kind of situation, the kind of circumstances making you unhappy because you've been ordering it up over and over and over again. Now that you've said no, they're going to still be coming at you for a while, and you need to be able to say no, even though it looks like that person you've always been attracted to. You see what I'm saying? You're going to have to say no at first to the old stuff that you used to request for yourself when it shows up. But that's how people fail. It's like, oh, no. Oh, well, one more raspberry tea won't hurt. Or, you know, raspberry tea, you know, just whatever. So, I'm weeding them out. I'm weeding them out. I'm weeding them out. I'm weeding them out. It might be me and you, see that. It said, it needs but two. Here's the last sentence. The last sentence said, these two are joined before there can be a decision. Let this be the one reminder that you keep in mind. Notice this book is so hard to understand. Y'all will understand it as I go through it. I'm just reading from the page and bringing it to life. Why is it so not this difficult book that it usually is? Because we're joined. And that's what my hardcore class is. You know why I call it hardcore? Because it's so freaking book intensive. That's why I call it hardcore. Because nothing's harder for people than to actually hear the book that they say they want to study. Okay. So, you want to kill a class, actually teach the course. In that course class. What did he do? Well, he studied the course. He taught them the course. I'm in a spiritual class, and he talked about God. That's really fun. Aren't we hilarious? The Course in Miracles says the only reason why we're in this condition we're in is because we remember not to laugh.
That's right.
You don't laugh enough at what you look at your financial situation. You should be laughing. You should be laughing at your sex life. It's ridiculous how hard we make people work for our dysfunctional love. It just don't make it. I don't know how to love. I don't know how to be open, but I'm going to make you work for it. I'll be the worst lady you ever had, but you're going to work for it. Okay. I needed this, man. I needed to laugh today. I've been receiving so much love and so many miracles, my ego wants to kill me. It's like, you know you don't deserve nothing that you're going through. None of this good stuff. You don't deserve it. You know that voice? Yeah. When good stuff happens to you, after a while, they go, wait a minute, boy, you fooling everybody. I know you not nothing. You got them fooled. Y'all know that voice? Y'all know that voice? That voice is always telling you that stuff that's not inspiring you. You know, so what do? I surround myself with beings who share my purpose, who want to be loving. My ego can't win with you in my life.
That's right.
You're the living witness that I am valuable. And then I'm working to the point that it'll be okay if you don't think I am. At the same time, you can work both of them. That's what I was saying. Choose people who appreciate you. Then when you forget how beautiful you are, they'll say, no. You're a wonderful person. You're a beautiful person. Let me tell you what you did to help me. No, I don't. The people in the past, I'd say I did something wrong and I was horrible. And they say, and don't forget Christmas. Y'all know what I'm talking about? They go, wait, don't forget what you did 2 weeks ago now. You know, those are not the ones, y'all. Those are not your holy relationships. I'm telling you. So the court says, last thing it says, let this be the one reminder that you keep in mind, and you will have the day you want, and you will give the day you want to the world by having that day yourself. So how do I give the day I want to the world? I let myself have a happy day. That's giving it to the world because I'm having it. That is me offering it to the world. You're in the presence of a happy person. You're in the presence of a loving person. That's me giving it to the world. Give it to the world. By you being happy. By you having a loving day. That's what giving it to the world doesn't mean you sacrifice your happiness to try to make everybody else happy. You can't give people what you don't have. And if you don't have any joy, how are you going to give it to anybody else? If you're the saddest person in the room, how are you going to give somebody some happiness? So you got miserable people saying they're going to make somebody else happy in the relationship. Think about that. I'm the most miserable person in here, but I want a relationship because I want to make somebody really happy. And I'm wondering why nobody's asking me out to lunch. Go look in the mirror. Are you open? Are you receptive? Do you smile? Do you speak to anybody? Do you do anything to make someone want to walk up to you and take you out to lunch? Sometimes when you think you're looking pleasant, run to the mirror without changing your expression. You'll scare the hell out of yourself. You think you're looking all friendly. Oh yeah, you look real inviting. I can't wait to get your phone up. And if people treat you better than you think you deserve to be treated, that just means you love yourself more than you think you do. Because it's all your consciousness. And if you think you're the nicest person in the world and nobody likes you, well, I won't say anything about that. You're fooling yourself in the opposite direction. You got a lot more grievances than you think you have. So it says, your judgment has been lifted from the world by your decision for a happy day. So how do you stop judging the world, Course in Miracle style? You decide to have a happy day yourself. Isn't that a great way to lift the judgment from the world? And then it says, and you, as you have received, so must you give. You acknowledge yourself in hearing this much with me, Holy Spirit, today. Lord, have mercy. Come on, you can do it better than that. Come on. Come on. I am you. You are me. We are one. Kumbaya. Okay. All right. Those of you online, thank you so much for the incredible comments. And TJ, thank you so much for narrating. We've had a lot of hearts floating across the screen right now. I tell you, we are so blessed to have each other. I'm going to do the financial expression of appreciation right now for those of you who feel moved to share. I want to give you the opportunity to give to yourself. And I appreciate it. I'm a full-time teacher of the course. I don't have a set fee for my class for one reason. I want anybody to be able to come and receive regardless of their financial situation. It's a real complicated reason. So I trust those who love me will share and those who don't. You still share too. If you hate me, still share. Oh, online, go to earlpurdy.com if you'd like to make a financial expression of appreciation. I really, truly appreciate that. Oh, God. And I'm available for one-on-one sessions called clarity sessions, where I show you how to actualize this in the situations and circumstances that you're going through right now. And for those who are open to other ways of receiving information that's equally powerful, I also have been an astrologer and a numerologist for 40 years. I wouldn't do something that long that didn't have any value. I'm not that crazy, okay? All right, so you're not the mystery you think you are. And guess what? There's a divine plan for your life. You weren't just dropped here. And you can find out what that is. What's the big question? Why am I here? What is my lesson? What is I should be doing? And it's like, you came here with a map that you made up. So you're not ruled by the stars. It's just another way to communicate. Just like the Course in Miracles is just a language. Astrology is a language. Spirit's trying to reach us every way possible. You could read everything you need to know from looking at a leaf. You could read an ear. Spirit will reach you through anything you are open to receiving it through. We are so helped. We are so loved. But we don't realize that. So online, I do another Facebook Live class on Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time, called The Way of Mastery. Check it out. Go to the Earl Purdy page on Facebook, and you just go to www.facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live. That's not too hard to remember, right? Facebook.com/Earl Purdy Live or the Earl Purdy page. What's cool about me doing it from my Facebook page now instead of from my profile, which is what I used to do it from, is that you don't have to be a member of Facebook to watch the classes. You don't have to have a Facebook account to watch my classes live. You just can't interact, but you can watch them. So if you want to recommend it to your friends, and other people you know who might see benefit in it. They don't have to be a member of Facebook. Okay? Don't let your advisor put you to sleep every time someone's trying to give you something that helps you. Don't listen to the part of your mind that says you don't need to stay in pain, because that's all that part of the mind is doing. You know? So because I want you to be happy, and I want to be happy with you. I want us to have oneness together. So if you want to be notified every time I have a class, go to my page and become a follower. If you tap those of you watching right now online, if you just tap the screen, it'll give you the option of becoming a follower. Also, I need y'all's help. I need your help. So what I'm going to ask you to do is share the video on your timeline. You can share the live broadcast while I'm doing it on your timeline just by going to where you make the comments when you're watching it, and then it has right to the left, share. You touch share, and then it will be on your timeline. And that will allow other people to hear stuff like you heard today. And that's how we spread the word. That's how we make a difference. Then it goes out exponentially. You know. And there's no excuse for you all not being loved. All of y'all cute. Just don't talk too much. You have a bunch of, lots of dates. Just be quiet. And then as you learn what to say, then start talking. That's all you gotta do. That's all you gotta do. I'm telling you, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at all of y'all. Except from the South, all y'all. South, when you come from the South, you don't want to say too many consonants and vowels and stuff. You just cut to the chase, y'all. We don't go, I'm going to go to the grocery store. No, that's not how you say it in the South. You go, I'm fixing to go to the store. Is that right, Avenue? That's right. We don't kid around in the South. That's right. That's right. We just go cut to the chase when you're from the South. Yeah. So what's the takeaway somebody heard right quick before we wind this up? Somebody tell me a takeaway that they heard today that they want to remember. Anything, anybody.
It takes two.
It takes two. It takes two to make a decision powerful. Anybody else?
My day is a witness to the advisor I am listening to.
That's right. Say it again. That day is a witness to the advisor that I'm listening to. My day is a witness to the advisor that I'm listening to. Okay, anybody else?
Our judgment of the world is lifted when we decide to be happy.
When we decide to be happy, that's our judgment from the world being lifted because we decided to have a happy day. Don't forget, you have a curriculum that will answer all the questions that you have about how to do this. But if you're still just going to wing it, you're never going to study anything. I'm a firm supporter of individuality, so don't get me wrong when you think it's like, yeah, you got your own path. Everybody's got their own curriculum. This just might be yours. It might not, but for some people it is. And if it is, if you've decided this is your curriculum, then go ahead and work with me, because especially on Thursday, I'm working with the book. I'm going through the book, working with it. Anybody else? Yes, darling.
I just need to remember that not choosing is also a choice. And so if I choose not to be happy today, if I put it off 10 years from now, or that's a choice I'm still making. So I'm not ever stuck. I'm still deciding to not choose something else.
Thank you. That's good. I like that. Jim.
And then we put what we think is in our best interest on autopilot, and in actuality, that autopilot needs to be fired.
Yeah. Don't forget. And then when the raspberry tea comes,
No.
that's right. Did anybody online, CJ?
Basically, everyone's just sharing away at the moment.
Okay, sharing away. All right. So you're not a victim, right?
No.
You're not a victim, right?
No. Right.
Here we go.
Not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that really doesn't last.
I'm not a victim. Let's finish this up. Of the world I see, I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I done to me. I love y'all. Thanks for coming. You all are awesome. Thursday Hardcore Course. You have an announcement you want to make? All right, quick announcement. I love y'all. Y'all cool. Yeah.